Welcome to the Wild and Free with Anna Love podcast. I am your host, Anna Love. Wild and Free was born to inspire women to release old patterns that have kept them from living their best life. As a subconscious freedom specialist, I strive to reprogram and reframe generational trauma, not only in myself and the lives of my 3 daughters, but for those who are ready to transform anxiety, fear, and shame into authenticity, freedom, and love. Whether you are 20 years old or 70 years young, buckle up for raw and honest explorations in doing the work necessary so that you may shine your brightest light from your heart and onto the lives of others. Welcome to Wild and Free with Anna Love podcast. I am here today with the beautiful Morgan Danielle.
Hi, Anna.
Hi,
Thank you for having me.
Yes, welcome in. This has been my dream to have guests on who we match vibration levels. And when we met, I was just really feeling you and thought you'd be a perfect guest to come on this podcast and talk about how you are living wild and free, or how you are inspiring your clients to live wild and free, and what that looks like for you, or maybe even in your family. So we'll jump right in with, maybe if you want to tell us a little about you or who you work with, anything that's important to you right now.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, like, Anna, when we met, I feel like we were just attached to the hip because we just vibed. We had such great energy together. And so I really appreciate you having me on your podcast here. And so I am a love and relationship coach, and I specialize in helping women break the toxic relationship cycle and ultimately attract the most epic love affair of their life. And when you say living wild and free, what I really love about that is I've had my own journey of setting myself free from codependency. I actually used to have a program called 90 Days to Freedom. And it was all about breaking the toxic relationship cycle with men, with money, with alcohol, with anything, right? And so now I specifically specialize in helping women in their relationships, but it all comes down to breaking free from those patterns that are holding us back from being the most authentic version of ourselves. So the person we're meant to be underneath all the coping mechanisms and all the trauma. And so being able to free yourself from those patterns, it liberates you and it creates this ripple effect in your life for more authentic relationships, more authentic experiences and opportunities.
Wow. The word pattern stuck out to me because I talk a lot about patterns, and I love that you had that program. And when you worked with, are women your clients mainly? Okay. And I want to know what drew you to that. And a lot of times what draws us is our own experience, but maybe I don't want to say that that was for you, but like, what drew you to create this program for women?
Yeah. So, of course, our mess becomes our message. And so I struggled with toxic and abusive relationships, codependency, for, around 13 years of my life. And I would have these codependent patterns, and then I swung into hyper independence, but both of them are different sides of the same coin. Right. And so, that really drove me when I kind of understood that this was a pattern and I was participating in this pattern. That's when everything began to change for me, because at first I thought I had just really bad luck, and I would look at like other people in my life. I'd look at my friends, I'd look at people in my family, and I'm like, what is it about them that allows them to have these relationships? I was always kind of an analyzer and an investigator, right? Human design, I don't know much about human design, but I'm a 5-1. And that one line, I believe, is the investigator. And so I would always look at other people's patterns and other people's situations. And at first, when I was really struggling and I was more so in a victim mentality, I'd be like, why are they so much better than me? What do they have that I don't? But as I began my healing journey, it wasn't so much what do they have that I don't. It was more so what makes them available for people to treat them well and to have these beautiful relationships. it really came down to me understanding my participation in these patterns and being able to understand where these patterns came from and ultimately being able to break them. So I overcame codependency, depression, anxiety, addiction to drugs and alcohol. And that was really kind of what created this new life of freedom for me.
Oh my gosh. And like what you just said was very heavy in that you had all of these dependencies and these patterns.
Yeah.
Can you enlighten the listeners? Because some people may not know what it means to be codependent. I mean, we all know what it looks like to be, a victim of alcohol and have a victim mindset where the world is against us. But when you say codependency, I know that because I've read books on it. But what would you say in a nutshell that is?
Basically, codependency in a nutshell. So we have codependency, we have interdependence, and we have hyper independence, right? And so codependency is essentially looking for someone to save you and putting all of yourself into somebody else. And so there's not that line of this is you and this is me. It's those lines become blurred because you're needing validation, you self abandon, you people please. And so those codependent patterns create this need for external validation and essentially somebody to come in and save you.
Yeah. And so would you say that for you, because I'm a former codependent, right? And I didn't know how I got there, but I can recognize it in myself when I was 16 inside of an 8-year relationship. So everything you just said, I exhibited that in there. And I thought at the time it was what love was. I thought that's what it meant to be a good partner. And it wasn't until, and he liked that I lost myself, right? There was a part of him that really, he got something from it. But I was in this whirlwind of not knowing that I was doing that. And yeah, can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we don't know what we don't know, right? We grow up a certain way. Either it's something that we saw or something that we experienced. And so we have this idea of this is what love is supposed to look like. This is how it's supposed to feel. And so one of the kind of light bulb moments for me was like looking at my behaviors and looking at my thoughts and actually having awareness around that. Like, why am I overgiving to this person? Why am I people pleasing? Why am I losing myself to this person and needing this person to make me feel a certain way about myself? And so we have to look at our childhood experiences because most of the time, it does stem from our experiences in childhood. Maybe we were heavily criticized. Maybe we had a mother that was codependent on a father. Maybe we had a father that was codependent on a mother. There's a million different scenarios in which something could impact you to start developing that codependency. The possibilities are truly endless. However, just kind of starting to understand, oh, maybe this is what I saw, or oh, maybe I had to please mom in order to have her be nice to me. I had to act a certain way in order to be loved or praised, right? And so that's kind of how it starts to develop. And the thing about codependency too is it really started out as a way to protect ourselves. It was a coping mechanism to keep us safe in childhood. Oh, if I did this and I got praised, that means I was getting a need met. And so there comes a time, like it was beneficial at some point. So we can't say, oh, this is a terrible thing. It's like, oh, it played a part in protecting me at that time. But there comes a time where the coping mechanisms that we developed in childhood actually become very destructive to our adult relationships, right? And we don't have, unfortunately, we don't have a school or a class or something that takes us from, our childhood coping mechanisms into our adulthood where we're releasing and rebuilding. And so being able to just become aware of when am I saying yes when I actually mean no? Where am I doing something to not get rejected or to not have somebody be mad at me? I would even get to the point where I would be in a situation where with a guy where I didn't want to have intimacy, but I didn't know how to say no. And I didn't know, I didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable. So I was just willing to make myself uncomfortable because I was putting them on a pedestal. I was putting their emotions and their well-being ahead of me.
Wow. It's overriding our own desires.
Yes.
And, I wanted to ask you, thank you for all of that. That was really a great explanation. And thank you for going deep there. And while you were talking, it got me thinking about the good girl conditioning. And I know that's a topic that could be spoke on here as well because it feeds into that. So, what is your take on the good girl conditioning? And is that something that can be broken? Can we get past it?
Yeah, and it goes hand in hand with codependency. So I struggled with the good girl conditioning. I would say most of my clients have struggled with the good girl conditioning where they're just the yes girl, where they're the cool girl, the nice girl, they're not causing any trouble. And what's really happening is they're abandoning it their self. They don't know what their wants are, they don't know what their needs are, they don't know how to communicate them. And so they become this nice girl who on the inside is actually very resentful, and she feels resentful towards the people who are using her. Feels resentful towards herself, but she keeps stuffing it down and stuffing it down and stuffing it down, and then she ends up bubbling it all up and it comes out in unaligned ways. That was my specialty. And so can it be overcome? Absolutely, 100%. And it's not that we overcome it and then we never experience it again. There are times when I, feel myself falling back into people pleasing or being the good girl because I don't want to rock the boat. But the thing is, it's not about never falling back into that, because again, it was a pattern that we've had our entire lives, but it's about catching it and then choosing again, doing something different. Right. And so first and foremost is just acknowledging where you see it happening and then choosing something different, right? So, for example, the good girl who the guy wants to, have intimacy on the first date. And the nice girl would be like, oh, well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. And then the guy keeps pushing. And because her boundaries are not solid and she's not confident, he'll keep pushing. And then it'll be like, oh, okay, fine. Or she will not say anything at all while feeling wildly uncomfortable and then hating herself afterwards. And so the way that we kind of heal that is we notice, do I want to have intimacy right now?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to. And so instead of saying, oh, well, I don't know, we're saying, I have really enjoyed spending this time with you and I'm not there yet. Can we, continue to know each other better before we make that kind of decision? And so, and again, I teach communication as well, because that's really important when it comes to our boundaries, and our boundaries and our standards are what kind of, it's the line between the good girl and the great woman, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The high value woman. And when I say high value, I mean just a woman who knows and embodies her worth. That's all high value means. I know that some people get mad at me when I use that term, and it's like, oh, then, what is a low value woman? It means she doesn't have low value, or that she doesn't have value. That's not true. It's just a woman who embodies her worth, right? And
Yeah.
so those boundaries and standards are what kind of draws the line between the good girl and the great woman. And the good girl is the one that doesn't get what she wants. She gets used, she gets abused, she,
Yeah.
lives her life for other people. And so, it comes down to being able to know what you want, listen to yourself, listen to your body, and then being able to communicate that in a healthy, high value way. Which means like you're open hearted, you're expressing yourself rather than like, oh my gosh, you're such a jerk, I can't believe you would do XYZ. It's like,
Mm.
oh, this actually doesn't feel good to me. Can we do something
Yeah.
else?
You said so many things, and I know that you coach women on getting themselves clear with what it is that they want, right? Like you said, noticing that I'm doing that the pattern has come in of me allowing me like words to come out of my mouth that don't resonate with me, and then being able to, it's really giving them that bravery and that courage on how to communicate that no, I'm not going to be participating. I'm not going to be moving forward with this, thing that you want, your agenda. But what about the girl who doesn't know what she wants? Like I'm talking, yeah, like it's one thing to know you're doing it, but then not know how to stop or need some guidance on like, okay, I've done it again. I've done it again. I've done it. But what if you don't even know, like, how do you get women like that to go inside and figure out, like, how to even find out what I want, give myself permission for that?
Yes. Okay. I love this question because again, I was that woman. And I've worked with so many women who too, they've given their life to everyone else. And when I ask them, what is it that you want? They, they can't even tell me because it's never been safe for them to put that focus on themselves. And so what
Mm,
I like to bring to the light with them is like, well, what makes you feel good? What makes you happy? And if they're saying, I don't know what feels good, I don't know what makes me happy, I ask, is there a time when you felt happy? Was there a time when you did something and it brought you joy? Because we all have those little moments, right? Like it doesn't have to be this big thing, but in just those little moments, because I remember I was like, I don't even remember the last time I was happy, but I remembered little things that brought me joy, whether it was a yoga session, whether it was, um, I'm drinking my poppy right now, and like
mhm.
something small like that is it brings
Yeah.
me joy, it makes me happy, it feels good to me. And so it's like we want to start with those little baby moments of figuring
Mhm.
out, oh, this feels good to me here. I like when I do this. I like when I do this. And if we don't know what we like, then we
Yeah.
can start with, well, what don't I like? I know I don't like XYZ. I know I don't like somebody saying this to me. I don't like when this happens. And so what's beautiful about life is we have contrast. And I believe that the contrast is there to allow us to experience the contrast, recognize what we don't want, and then it gives
Mhm.
us way more clarity on what we do want. And so the
Wow.
thing about that is we have to be willing to just give it a shot, right? We have to be
Mhm.
willing to go try something new. We have to go be willing to think something different, to try something out. I have a client who, I'm helping her find love, but also we need to get her career in order to help her become fulfilled so she doesn't put everything into a partner because she loses herself there. And so, we're figuring out her career and we're going through this very thing. What do you know that you don't like? Okay, if you know
Yeah.
you don't like this, then does that give you more clarity on what you do want to be doing and how you want to be doing it? And that's really brought her a lot of peace and a lot of
Mhm.
certainty because, again, you're going to have to be willing to try to put yourself out there and say, do I like this? Does this feel good to me? Oh, this doesn't feel good to me. Never mind. I know that I don't want to do that.
My gosh, I know that when I was younger, I would do the process of elimination because I had no idea what I wanted. And so I would
Yeah.
say, well, let's start with what I don't want intuitively, just because I was so uber focused on all the things I didn't want. Like I was the girl who focused on the negative, and I was like, well, that's easier for me to locate what I don't want. But also, something triggered what you said, triggered the word survival mode in when you were speaking. And do you think, or what's your opinion on, a lot of us women were, traumatized or programmed or both as a young girl? And how did we get to a place of not knowing what we want? Well, it's because we thought we didn't have any other option, that we weren't allowed to, and it wasn't safe to even say, I want, like, that beautiful glass, that crystal glass you're drinking your poppy out of. Like, we weren't allowed the luxuries of even that, right? Like to say, like, do you want to look beautiful today? No, I can't. You have to put on these clothes and this is what you're wearing because this is what's available for our family, right? So for me, the word survival mode came up. And do you feel like that's a part of, the tapestry of women who then lose themselves and lose their choice and their options?
Absolutely, 100%. Because what happens when we're in survival mode, we're not focused on drinking out of a beautiful glass or going to bask in the sun or walking slowly through a flower shop. We're focused on making sure that we can survive. It's not about thriving, it's about surviving at that point. And so it's funny you brought that up because I was on the phone with a client yesterday and she had severe childhood trauma and she did not feel worthy of money, of men, of anything. And so I told her she was losing weight. She gained weight to protect herself. And so I told her, I was like, you don't feel worthy of having any of these things. And the only thing that I want you to go focus on is having fun. Go do something that's going to make you laugh your ass off, because that is going to allow you to, and of course, regulating the nervous system before that. She's been doing that work, but she's been keeping herself very small. And so, I told her, I was like, go out and have fun, because when you feel good and have fun, that's when everything begins to come to you. You start feeling worthy. You start training yourself to feel good, to start feeling happy, to start
Yes.
feeling joy. And that was something she didn't even allow herself to do because of that childhood trauma. Because she was so focused on surviving as a child, she didn't get to have fun as a child, which breaks my heart, because children human beings are just designed for play. And that's such a big part of our makeup. And when we experience that devastating childhood trauma, it zaps our innocence and our ability to tap into that play. And so we have to recreate that as an adult. And when we recreate that as an adult, that is also when we heal that part of our inner child. And so I ended the call. I was like, I'm not a regular coach, I'm a cool coach. So I'm like, don't do anything else besides. And I told her to go do something for fun. She really wants to do this belly dancing class. And so I said, go do that. Go have a good time. And then I said, she's really close with somebody in her life. And I was like, have you ever done those portraits of each other where you sit across from one another and you paint each other? Because of course we're amateur painters. And I did this with my fiance last year, and she was like, I saw yours and I laughed my ass off. And I was like, that's the whole point. Like, do something that's going to make you laugh your ass off and just have fun, because laughing regulates the nervous system too. And it helps you get back in touch with essentially what was taken from you.
You are helping women find their freedom and their wild. Yeah, that's great. Just go have fun, make yourself laugh. It does regulate the nervous system, and it does what I call a pattern interrupt, because women are so used to going on that autopilot survival mode. And when you're telling them to just go out and be free and find something fun to do, like shake your ass, shake your belly, and laugh about it and do a portrait painting, that's like freedom. And it's also scary. So, but it's a nice way to test the water. Yeah.
Exactly. And finding out again, because she's in that exact place of trying to figure out what feels good to her and what she likes, because she's just been in survival mode her entire life. And so it really is, it's not the cure all. Going out and having fun isn't the cure all,
Part
but
of it.
it is a huge piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. And I think it's a big thing, because we want to start small. We can't change our life, right? Like immediately, just overnight with all these different areas, because if we've never done it before, the last time we had fun or we laughed was, we can't remember, or it was when we really had a nice belly laugh, we were 10 years old and now we're 30. Right? It's like taking baby steps towards that direction. And I love that you're helping women kind of figure out what's in the way of that, has been in the way for, maybe decades for them. My last question to you, unless you wanted to bring anything else to the topic, would be like, can we speak a little bit on authenticity and what it means to be an authentic woman in a relationship or outside of a relationship, however you see fit?
Absolutely. So your authenticity is what creates your magnetism, right? And so being authentic in my way of viewing it is being the most you can be, right? And so a lot of us are kind of tiptoeing around other people, kind of morphing into who they want us to be or who they need us to be, and we're abandoning ourselves in the process. And so authenticity comes back to mostly everything with what we've talked about today, is being able to understand who you are and being able to express that out into the universe, right? And so you are speaking your thoughts, you're speaking your feelings, you are doing things that are in alignment with you. And that's how you continue to come home to yourself over and over and over again. And another piece of that is not making yourself wrong for who you are. For the longest time, I grew up getting really heavily criticized, just constantly, right? And I just felt for, and again, I don't blame anybody. It's just the awareness that I have is I felt like nothing about me was right for the longest time. I felt like the way that I dressed was wrong. I felt like the way that I spoke was wrong. Just who I was as a person was wrong, and I felt bad. And so I would, morph into all these different versions of myself for whoever I thought could meet needs for me. And that left me broken, heartbroken, and depleted and depressed, right? And so I wasn't being me because I didn't feel like it was safe to be, right? And I think that so many of your listeners can identify with that and relate to that, because it's such a common thing, especially as women. We feel like we need to be everything for everyone else. And so, not making yourself wrong for who you are, not making yourself wrong for your emotions, not making yourself wrong for the mistakes that you've made, or, the person that you used to be, or the things that you're doing. Of course, we want to be able to take accountability and practice, being the person we want to become. But we can't do that when we're constantly shaming ourselves and making ourselves wrong for feeling anger or sadness or feeling like we should be someone or be somewhere that we're not. So when we can kind of make peace with who we are and how we feel, and we can express that and we feel safe expressing that, that's when we are, I like to call it dripping with magnetism, because our authenticity is what calls in the right men, the right experiences, the right career opportunities. So the more that you can get in touch with who that is and what that is, and then be able to bring it out of you, that's when you are being your most authentic self.
And that's your specialty, isn't it? That's your secret sauce is getting women to being their most magnetic self, right? Dripping in magnetism.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's so beautiful because it's like even when you feel sad or you feel, angry or upset or whatever, it's like your natural magnetism, it's not based on how you're feeling necessarily. It's just it becomes a part of who you are. And so like when we were at the retreat that we were on, I had been dealing with some health stuff, and it's caused me to just not feel fully me. But the feedback that I kept getting from everyone was, you're so magnetic, you're so magnetic. And it just came to show, it's like I cannot be feeling good and I can be going through some really tough stuff, and my magnetism shines through because I am okay with all of my messiness and all these parts of me.
Yeah, and it's coming from a place that you've been nurturing, right? You've got this like unlimited portal of authenticity. I
Yeah.
remember there was a time when I first started personal development and I was just going through a divorce and I had 3 little kids, and my coach said to me, "You are so inauthentic." And I was like, "Okay, I don't even know what that means." Like I no fucking idea. But I felt like for the first time I was being called out for something that I knew all along. I just didn't know how to put a name on it. And I actually, for what you just said, I had to be okay. I just actually realized this. I had to be okay with me being inauthentic.
Yeah.
Like
Ooh, I
I
love.
was so out of alignment with myself. And I was like, I don't even know what the word means, much less be it. And he said to me, like, I see a coach in you. And I was like, I can't find that version of me that you see, because I was very out of alignment with my truth and who I was being. And that's okay. Like I was conditioned and I was still in the thick of it, right? And I don't look back and hate that part of me. I just look back and go, wow, let's like get aware that that was true.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful. And I love that like your coach called you out on that. Because sometimes we do need people to kind of call us out on our own shit.
A good coach will do that.
Right? And being able to look back and just, like you said, like not hating that version of yourself or making her wrong, but giving her that love and compassion because she did the best she could with what she knew at the time. And I think that that's where a lot of us get hung up and aren't able to move forward, is we're so stuck in these, shame spirals of kind of honing in on all the mistakes that we've made, or the things that we've done. And the beautiful thing is it was all perfect. As unperfect as it felt, when you look back, it's like, oh, I had to be that person. I had to go through those trials and tribulations because this is what I learned from it, and this is who I became because of it.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to share with us for the, culmination of this podcast episode, and also where can people find you?
Yes, absolutely. So I have a couple different things for all of you. I have my Magnetism Mastery Bundle, which is all about overcoming self-abandonment, people pleasing, learning how to become the great woman rather than the good girl. I mean, this conversation was so perfect for kind of explaining what this bundle is. And it's got some other goodies along with it. And then I also have my free Facebook group called Break the Cycle. And then I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is the THE _Morgan Danielle. And on Facebook, my name's Morgan Danielle.
I love this. Thank you so much for giving us your time and your just wisdom and your vibrance. I appreciate you
Of
coming
course,
on.
Anna, thank you so much for having me. This has been amazing.
Thank you. Ready to take the next step in designing a life you love? The Life Design Blueprint membership is your all access pass to exclusive tools, live guidance, and transformational support to help you move from self doubt to self worth. Building on the principles from the Design a Life That Lights You Up ebook, this membership is a deeper dive into creating a life that aligns with who you truly are. You will go beyond surface level self help with hypnotic techniques and live discussions that create real lasting change in your mindset and life. You will receive ongoing support from me and connect with a community of like minded women on a similar journey. Each week, I deliver an empowering hypnosis which offers a unique way of working with your subconscious to reframe limiting beliefs, elevate self worth, and reinforce positive habits. All of our sessions will be recorded and added to our on demand library for easy access to members. Join me by clicking the link below, and I'll see you on the inside. Well, thank you so much for tuning into Wild and Free with Anna Love and being a part of this magical journey with me. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe and share with someone you love, even someone you just like. Bonus points if you leave a review. Show notes below gives you everything that you'll need to know, and I'll see you next time. So long for now.